What if your plantar fasciitis isn't just a foot problem? Good morning. Happy Friday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. Ooh, that was good. Okay. Man, we are really crunched on Friday. Hope you got a look at yesterday's Coffee and Coaches conference call. By the way, it was another great one. We had a really good time. Hope to see you next week. All right, rolling into the weekend. We're going to dig into today's Q&A. I went back and forth a few times with Vic on the email and talking about plantar fasciitis, and he had some questions like, how does this arise, and what are some of the mechanisms? And I think that number one, I think that the diagnosis is probably inaccurate in most situations. I think you can get an itis on the bottom of your foot for sure, but it's usually an acute situation. Step on a rock, come hard out of a cut, and you can certainly create the irritation necessary to produce an inflammatory situation. But I think in most cases, especially with the people that come to me with these insidious onset of plantar foot pain, I don't think it's going to be an itis situation. And I think if you look at some of the soft tissue research, especially leaning towards tendinopathy, you're going to see that we're seeing people in these later stages of tendinopathy where there is no inflammatory situation. These are degenerative situations that occur. And most likely, in my opinion, I think there's going to be a blood flow issue that's associated with that too. There's the tight calf, tight plantar fascia hypothesis, which leads people towards these rather aggressive stretching protocols in many situations that I don't think are terribly helpful. However, having said that, I think there might be a situation where some of that may actually be beneficial by accident, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. The bottom of the foot's a very busy place. There's a lot of muscle that's attached to the calcaneus, not just the aponeurosis of the plantar fascia and the lighter medial and lateral plantar fascia. So I think that there's not a specific foot type per se that's going to result in these situations, but I do think there might be a little bit of a bias in one direction. And I think that this has to do with the way that the connective tissues behave in regards to overcoming and yielding, because we do have a situation when we're moving through propulsion where we have yielding actions versus overcoming actions. And I think that those people that are predisposed to a prolonged or a maintained overcoming action are those that are probably going to be more predisposed towards the symptoms that are typically thrown into the diagnosis of plantar fasciitis. It's this reason that I think that some of these stretching protocols may accidentally help, because if we can create any yielding action at all through some form of tension, then maybe you do get some relief. But I think in many situations, because this is not just a foot problem, this is a center of gravity issue, as you'll see here in a minute. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a great solution. So let's real quick go through our phases of the propulsive foot, so we get an idea of what we're talking about here. So, as you recall, we're gonna have three rockers. We have our ankle rocker, which is the heel contact to where that first metatarsal head comes down to the surface. I've got a tibia that's behind the ankle, that's in ER. This is going to translate over the foot, and so this is going to be our middle propulsive phase, and this is where we're going to see the reduction of the arch. So we see the supinated foot with the arch. We're going to move towards traditional pronation, which is the lowering of the arch, and then I'm going to see the resupination of the foot and the re-ER under those situations. Now, I think that those that are going to be more predisposed towards this diagnosis are going to be those that are going to be in the later stages of middle propulsion, or they're going to be trying to acquire this early propulsive strategy. So if you recall, at the end of middle propulsion, where we're going to hit that maximum propulsion, so this is maximum pronation, right at the point where that heel starts to break off the ground, I have to create this overcoming situation. And so this is the connective tissue behavior. So the tissues are behaving very, very stiff at this point. And I think that this is where we're going to see most of our people that are dealing with the heel pain situations, because this is the overcoming. And so at this very end, I get this high rate of loading into the connective tissues. They become very, very stiff. Now, if you have somebody that is in a later propulsive foot, just as a reminder, if their heel is still on the ground, what you're going to see is you're going to see a decent arch, but you're going to see the toes curl under. So we're going to see this the distal phalanges there are going to get pulled under. So we're going to see a flexed toe representation under those circumstances. So you can differentiate between somebody that is biased towards their max propulsion versus the later, because we're gonna change the strategies a little bit in regards to which presentation you're seeing. Let's go back to center of gravity real quick. If I am anteriorly oriented, I'm going to see those people that are going to have a center of gravity that is biased forward. If I have, say, a narrow ISA and I have that posterior lower compression, I'm also going to see somebody with that center of gravity forward. And in both cases, I'm going to be pushing that tibia forward. So what we want to talk about now is this rate of tibial translation across the foot. So if I see somebody with the lower arch, what I have is a situation where the arch is low, so that allows the tibia to translate very, very quickly. That increases my rate of loading. So under those situations, my first layer of strategy is, number one, I got to reorient the pelvis, and now I need to recapture my non-compensatory hip external rotation and internal rotation. That's going to help me manage this center of gravity situation. Number two, I got to restore the arch. So in this case, there may be an orthotic solution that we need to utilize, or perhaps a shoe selection that's going to allow us to manage this arch. If I can bring the arch a little bit, I can slow the translation of the tibia, and then that reduces the rate of loading on the connective tissues on the bottom of my foot. So again, we want to slow the tibia from moving forward. After that, what I want to do is I want to start to train people through this middle propulsive phase. I'm going to start with gradual loading. So I'm going to do front foot elevated activities under these situations where I am translating the tibia, but again, I'm managing that arch position. If I have somebody that is farther into propulsion, so they're a late propulsive foot, so this is where the arch returns, and I'm starting to see some of that toe flexion that you'll typically see. So this is a concentric overcoming situation. So what we want to do here is we're going to take advantage of the concentric orientation, but we want to recapture the yielding action. So we're going to take them all the way back to early propulsion. So this is all of your heels elevated activities after you reorient the pelvis and recapture non-compensatory external rotation. Right, so again, heels elevated front squats, heels elevated squats, and then what I want to do is then I want to rebuild middle propulsion just like I did for those folks with the lower arch. So hopefully that gives you a representation of what you may be looking at. Vic, I hope that gives you a little bit of a strategy to work towards, and then I hope everybody has a great weekend. I will see you guys next week.